Okay, so one more Scottish accent before the break. I don't know if there's any after the break, but so thank you. That we're excited. We've been working with Mary Lee and Alan and Stuart and others for a while to kind of try and get this going in Scotland, and I think we have a really good group of people over there getting it going. What I wanted to do at the end of this session was really kind of, so I'm the director of the Space Institute, so space is mostly what I do, but we typically talk about when I give talks in various places, I say every company is a space company, whether they know it or not. And the reason for that is because we need everything, particularly here in Houston, where we're focused on the human side. We have this need for biotechnology, medical technologies, and so on. But we also need a lot of the other kind of technology developments that we need. And so I'd like to kind of emphasize that a little bit in the short time that I have, if I can work the clicker. So I want to give you a kind of big overview. I always say that if you see something about space and a date, one of them is wrong. And this, you could do your own chart here. On the top, I've tried to kind of put an arc of the kind of things we might envisage happening in space, and the technologies that are going to require for that to happen. And then the bottom, the arc is really about what I think are space-related technologies, but are primarily a terrestrial-based development. Everything obviously is built on the Earth, at least at the moment, until we can start building stuff from the moon. So again, you could put your own things in here. I've even got space elevators in there, a whole bunch of different things that you might disagree with or agree with. You might disagree with the timeline and so on. But I just wanted to give you that large-scale theme because this is where everybody in this room, I know there's a heavy medical bias here, but the energy industry, the digital industries, and of course the space industries. And one of the things that I can really done here is this is a kind of the vision that Alan and Bill had way back in the day, and it's been carried through pumps and pipes. Is really about trying to solve problems, and to solve problems on the scale of space exploration, or even just working and doing stuff in space for the benefit of the Earth. We have to have a whole bunch of different technologies, and we have to try and look for the solutions to the problems we have in very many different areas. And one of the key things here is that people think maybe space is a niche market. Maybe there's 4 people going to Mars sometime in the next 40 years. That's not a market. But if we can get the technologies that will take those people to Mars, have them spend a bit of time there and bring them back safely, there are 8 billion people on the planet that will benefit from those technologies. The health technologies, the sustainable technologies, yesterday's coffee is tomorrow's coffee. A lot of astronauts say that. Water reclamation, carbon dioxide, power, all of these things will benefit us here on the Earth if we can achieve that goal. And the push for space, apart from the exploration side, is that you face challenges you don't face on the Earth. Limitations in power, mass, size, all those different things. And again, when you put the human in the loop, this is particularly true. And for the science fiction fans, this is where we're trying to get to. To get there, you need something like this, right? You need all those component parts. Each one of those parts in itself could be an innovation, and we have to find ways of bringing that innovation from across the sectors and then also implementing them into a whole that allows us to accomplish a mission at the bottom of the ocean, a mission to Mars, or a mission in the medical center at Houston. And one way to think, again, this is 2 columns. I used to have deep-fried Mars bars for the Scots amongst you up there. This was the slide to focus on deep-fried Mars bars in space. But there's a lot of technologies that we're developing in space that are being translated into terrestrial applications and vice versa. But these 2 lists can be, they're all interrelated, and that's the key message of today. So what I'm saying here is that one of the advantages of thinking about space for some of these items is that it's a low resource environment. When you have a low resource environment by design or by lack of choice, then you have to be innovative. You have to think of ways of solving those problems in the simplest way that you can. They have to be robust. If you're going to Mars, you can't just replace everything. You can't fix everything necessarily. And when you have that innovative design, whatever the technology is, there will be a terrestrial impact. There'll be a place you could apply it to on the Earth, whether it be a new technology for keeping filters clean. That could be applied in the space station, but it could also be a big benefit to hospitals, for example. And you can think of many, many different examples. We've heard of many of those today. So again, that's another message I would like to leave you with. Now, if I actually knew how to use AI, this would be a much better picture. But the idea here, this is something that Mark Jenigan is my executive director, and I came up several years ago. We were thinking about a thing called the Center for Safety Advancement to bring the safety focus of the energy, the health, and the space industry together to do the communal stuff first before we branch out. So we called it the socket wrench. And this is, I've just adapted it for this talk, essentially for this particular topic. The technology is the wrench, but the application is the socket. And that wrench could be the same. It could be an imaging technology. It could be a robotic technology. It could be an AI technology. The application is where you take that technology and apply it. So what's the benefit to this? Well, the benefit is that the technology is where you go. If you're a medical doctor interested in robotics, you could go to a space robotics conference, or not, actually backtrack, you would go to a robotics conference where you might meet someone from the space community, the energy community, because they're there for the solutions to common problems, not to a space problem or a health problem or an energy problem. And so I talk about this, right now we focus on technology verticals, right? We have the space sector, we have the health sector, we have the transportation sector, we have the energy sector, we have and it becomes difficult to foster true collaboration in that sense. I'm not supposed to use the pointer, but there's a little white arrow there that goes between energy and healthcare. Think of Alan and think of Bill meeting on that airplane and discussing what they do and realizing there was a commonality. That was serendipity. That was a bit of luck that led them to create Pumps and Pipes and to create the kind of discussion that we've had today. Sudhir Pai is in the audience too. There was a thing that we set up many years ago called the Technology Collaboration Center. And the idea there was the same thing. Slightly different focus. You would focus on imaging or wearable technologies and then bring the industries together around that topic. These are small scale things effectively that are, but could potentially have a huge impact the more people that we get here. I'd like us to start thinking about technology verticals, because those technology verticals, I think the collaboration comes much more naturally, right? Those technology verticals, you're there because you want to learn about the latest innovation in digital health, or digital applications to, human activity, whether it be sports, whether it be space, whether it be in the hospital. And I think this is something that this is the trying to get away from the siloed approach to think of the commonality that we have in mind, the ideas of bringing folk together so that, and I've got a statement that says it better than I'm mumbling about right now, but basically focus on the solutions to common problems rather than a solution to how I get more oil out of a well, how I help a patient a little bit better, because the solution might be elsewhere, and I think that's the key focus. So first one focuses on serendipity, meeting the right person at a conference, having some commonality, being able to find the time to make it work. And then the other part is essentially integrated by design. I've stolen that phrase from the US Space Force, by the way, but anyway, that's a kind of... So here's how I'd like to finish. If we're going to meet the demand for rapidly expanding space activity, in my bias, we need to innovate, importantly translate, and implement a wide range of technology. Many of these technology challenges have terrestrial counterparts, and as far as we know, the problem we're having may already have been solved. We just don't know because we don't go to an energy conference, we don't go to health conferences and so on. And so to do this, we need to foster stronger and repeated interactions between technology sectors and find more creative and strategic ways of exploring our neighbour's toolkit. And I think the value of Pumps and Pipes and the conversations I've had over all these years kind of feeds into that. We need to be more strategic about it, and we need to do it with a real end in mind across all these disciplines, not just here in Houston, occasionally once a year. So thank you for your time. I hope this inspires some thoughts, and then we'll let Alan take it from here. It's all on you, Alan. Thank you.